Hello, my name is Damon Flemings, and we are here to talk about Heidi Rosen, a very successful venture capitalist who started her role on Silicon Valley. But before then, Heidi Rosen her claim to fame by working with her brother at Tandem, which was a high-level software organization. The strengths that Rosen presented directly correlates with what Adam Grant talks about in his book when he says that highly successful people have three things in common, which are motivation, the ability, and the opportunity. Grant also states that takers have a distinctive signature, that they give more than they take. And one of the things that really sets the tone with Rosen is that she is, in fact, more of a giver than she takes. And in fact, that was something that had an overwhelming played an overwhelming role within her business juncture when she was later at Apple years later. But we'll get to that later. Her background is surrounded with technology and entrepreneurship at a young age. There again, she worked with her brother at a high level software company. She also attended Stanford University as an undergraduate, where she majored in creative writing. Um, Brian Uzi, who's one of our Harvard resources, he and Shannon Dunlap talk about how to build a network. So Rosen was really able to go above and beyond that. Her first experience with networking was getting the tandem position by hitting it off the phone when applying for the job. So during this position, she sat with the top management meetings to stay abreast of company events, using this opportunity to get to know the CEO and really being able to build her reputation within that business realm. From Grant, in the workplace, this gives us that give and take structure. And it becomes a little bit convoluted and complicated here because professionally, few of us act purely like givers or takers, according to Grant. He says adopting a third style instead. According to Grant, we become matchers, striving to preserve an equal balance of giving and getting. Matchers operate on the principle of fairness. When they help others, they protect themselves by seeking reciprocities. If you're a matcher, he says, you believe in tit for tat, and your relationships are governed by even exchanges of favors. Now, this is something that really resonated with me because as I was taking the Adam Grant's quiz, one of the things that I learned about myself is that I am much of a giver and I'm always giving and giving. And it seems like sometimes you give and you fail to stay afloat within your own business or life. And this is something that really hits home for Rosen because she was climbing up the ladder in corporate America, but unfortunately her family life got a bit distorted. And sometimes that can happen when we are constantly giving to our family and our friends and not utilizing the proper time for ourselves. But being able that she was going back to her juncture at Teamaker, she was able to really leverage and launch relationships with the CEO, which in turn helped her get into business school at Stanford in 1983. Was an early adopter of personal computers, so she decided to work with her brother, who was a computer programmer, to turn software programming he had written called Table Maker. So this later really helped her experience when she joined forces at Apple in 1996. But when she was working at Apple, she was the VP of Worldwide Developer Relations, and so during that time, Apple was not such a huge monumental company that it is today. In fact, a lot of their market share was highly decreased, and because of Rosen, she was able to really move beyond and leverage the business in where she was able to work with CEOs to get the Macintosh software product within full-fledged capacity. So Rosen is a firm believer that consistency and performance are far more important than frequency of interactions in maintaining a network. So she was able to become involved with senior management relations at Apple to rebrand the strategy while still executing her job. She then went on to be she left Apple in 1997. She worked as a mentor capitalist, for which she served as an active outside board member for startups that have received at least one round of venture capital banking. One rule of thumb would be that she says to really leverage networks if connections would benefit from both parties. So essentially, it would have to be a win-win situation. She was also careful to employ the lesson of reciprocity and was highly efficient in her communication techniques. So, again, she was bombarded with several emails, and she was one who really knew, again, that give principle, where she would get more than 150 emails a day, but she was able to really structure and hone in who she would, you know, reply back to. But as a mentor capitalist, Rosen was able to dedicate more time with her family, and an active social life, because there again, early on, she was very neglectful of that. So one of the things that I would really take from Rosen is that she was very substantial in launching her own company at SoftBank as a venture capital. So in 1999, she, with a general partner, signed on a deal for $636 million to dedicate to internet investments. And so that really changed, the internet and what we see today as far as the structure of software, which I think, as individuals, what we can take for that is how to really build our networks. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard, but I've heard the idiom that your network is your net worth. And I truly believe that, because without networks, you can't surmise real success. So you've got to be able to really branch and leverage your connections as much as you can. And that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you.